You're tuning into A Wake Up Call, which is your weekly dose of purpose packed with science-backed tools to beat burnout and boost happiness.
Hosted by us, Tess Brower and 7-time world champion Lane Beachley.
We're the founders of Awake Academy. This podcast mixes raw life lessons, expert wisdom, and practical tips
to help you stop sleepwalking through life and start living it on your terms.
You ready to wake up and thrive?
Let's go. We encourage a lot of people to do life audits, especially when they're in busy periods.
It's actually how you and I came together and started Awake Academy.
It was. And now we need to do one on ourselves.
Okay. So if we did a life audit right now, I would say that we are at either side of the spectrums when it comes to care. So you are raising a 3.5-year-old toddler.
Yep.
And I am
And 3 stepkids.
And 3 stepkids and a husband and a 53-year-old business partner. While I'm dealing with and processing the decline of my 86-year-old father through dementia and everything else that's going on.
We are in a shit sandwich.
We are in a shit sandwich, but I feel like we're both dealing with toddlers.
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate I don't have to wipe his ass anymore.
We had Co-Browns recently, both of us. But it is called the sandwich generation, and on that comes a lot of grief, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we all process grief differently. And that's why we've asked our friend Mitch Wallis to join us today from Heart on My Sleeve to give us tips, tools, and juicy nuggets of wisdom on how to navigate grief and process grief, and a toolkit that will actually help every single person no matter what stage you're in.
And Mitch is going to be our resident psychologist. So you'll learn a lot from Mitch, as we are.
Yeah.
And today is going to be a bit of a journey, life coaching, live coaching, and some tools to help you deal with grief every day. So
trigger warning, there's talks of death, sadness, suicide, and a lot of tears from me.
Our purpose of this podcast is to help people thrive. And one of that is demonstrating to people how to deal with certain tools in life. And today we are talking about grief.
Oh, joy.
The joyous grief.
Yeah, as a life story of grief. But before we started, it already feels a bit heavy in the room as we prepare for helping people with grief. Mitch, how do you regulate your nervous system when entering into conversations like this?
I don't feel heavy. I feel solemn.
Cool.
Like around both of you, I've always felt safe. And even though we're still on our journey of building a connection, I feel a lot more connected to you guys as I would with someone with the same span of time. And I think that's because you drop in and want to know people on deep levels. So I think part of regulating is surrounding yourself with people who have a regulated nervous system. That is the fastest way to find center, is be around people who are constantly grounding themselves. So you embody that, and therefore it spills onto me and I get to soak up the beauty of that. Mm-hmm. I think another way for me, this is hyper personal, but one of the main ways I become dysregulated is in the enormity and density of experiencing life. You know, waking up, going throughout the day. Very quickly, our thoughts can run away. Oh my God, I have this deadline. Is this person okay in my life? Where am I falling short? And if you have anxiety, OCD, depression, all these things that I have, it's like this perfect nuclear bomb. And so undensifying that, if that's a word.
I want that to be a word.
We've just claimed it right now. Undensifying by reality checking constantly. Gateway is presence always. Coming into the present and being like, just remember, this is all we got right here, right now. I have everything I need already to be able to navigate this moment. And undensifying is reminding myself of how temporary life is. Mm. I just tell myself all the time, we are a evolved monkey in a skin suit on a piece of stardust that will be forgotten in one generation's time, and there's trillions and billions of years to come. Why do you care about this thing so much? All you need to do is leave a positive decimal point of a fossil of energy in the world that's good and let go of everything else. You know, some people need to be told to hang on more. Other people need to be told to let go. Mm-hmm. I'm the latter.
And that's a huge observational view of your experience of life. How did you get to that point?
by it becoming so dense that I thought this atom is either going to explode or it needs to transform.
And is the atom you?
Yeah, it is my essence, whatever me is, but the thing that thinks and feels and tries to make sense of the world. Ultimately, I have a disease, OCD, and trying to make sense of the world to an unhealthy degree. And so the antidote is usually a few droplets of the opposite. And the opposite of needing everything to be in control and really serious is being really playful and carefree. And there's no greater entry point to a carefree reality check than just being like, dude, the monkey, it's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So those anchor points, which become your gateways to perspective, how often are you catching yourself and going through those gateways throughout
Probably
a day?
5 times a day.
That sounds exhausting.
No, it's liberating.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
it's the ultimate reset. It feels great every time. I actually have anchor points in my body. So I say light, bright, tight. And I've actually added a 4th one, which is might. So light is coming down into my stomach, remembering to shake it off, let go of all these feelings that are clinging and go into an expansive energy where I'm attracting abundance, positivity, joy, and humor, play into my stomach and projecting that back out into the world. Bright is I want to be a source of love. If nothing else, I need to clear bias, judgment, and hate, and then come into this explosive energy from my chest that can radiate love to other people and attract that back in. Tight is remember that I am me. And I'm separate to the world, and that honoring that separateness as opposed to enmeshment will help me regulate my own feelings and bring a sense of peace with the tightness. I always say behind your eyes because I'm someone that dissociates. I'm always in front of myself. So tight is tightening behind my eyes. And then might is something that I've developed as the 4th pillar in my kind of chakra journey, I suppose, which is in my pelvis to feel power. I was always so scared of my masculine energy for most of my life because even as a kid, I remember I used to pick things up with my left hand because it was more soft, and I would, count in even numbers because they felt more calming than odd numbers. Over the last few years, one of the best things that's happened to my life is learning how to embrace the power of masculine energy and ground that into a strong leadership frame as opposed to an erratic, reactive, aggressive frame. So that 4th pillar has been kind of the and that was 5 way to drop back into the present. Ultimately, your body responds to energy way more than it does a thought. A thought is just the gateway to energy. So if you can plug it into the body somewhere, it starts to become who you are.
I love that. I was with Tibetan monks yesterday, and
Of course you were.
I brought my son Benji, and he's 3.5, as you know, and he met the main monk, and the monk shook his hand and the translator was there, and I said, do you have a message for Benji? And he was praying like hands together and bowed his head, and the monk said to him, love is the greatest energy of all. And that's all I get from you is love. And I trust that the listeners will be feeling this love because it's a space that we want to create today. Whilst you know Lane and I relatively well, what we haven't really shared in Lane's journey is where she's at personally. And it's a really big one for me to tackle today as your best friend, as your business partner, and who's someone who deeply cares about you. And it takes a lot of courage to talk about chakras from a masculinity standpoint, and it takes a lot of courage to open up your heart today. And I want to encourage you that you're doing this for purpose. There's a lot of people going through grief right now. So to help Mitch understand and our listeners what's going on for you, do you mind sharing where you're at?
I'm looking for my bright light, might and tight.
Maybe you might find that after.
Yeah, maybe. So where I'm at, we normally start every podcast with, how are you feeling? Where are you at out of 10? And the first word that comes to mind when you ask me, where am I at? I go, I'm exhausted. I'm depleted because I feel like I'm holding space for myself, for everyone around me, but my dad has always been my anchor point in my life. And he's not dead. He's still with us. But he has dementia. He recently fell down the stairs. He's been hospitalised for a week and now has been bedbound for 2. He's very happy, surprisingly. He's always so hypermobile and active and energetic. So everything that he's done in his life is prolonging his lifespan now, or his health span and his lifespan now. But I've already started grieving the loss like I'm learning to honor the days where I just go, he's gone, or I go, just go, or I think, is he going now? Or I think, today will he get up out of bed? The constant yearning creates the waves of grief. And I reconcile, I've been through a lot of grief. You know, I've lost 3 mothers in my short 53 years. One to cosmetic surgery, one to breast cancer, and the other to ovarian cancer. And I've, watched them. Well, the first one I was 7, so I wasn't really aware of what was happening, and my dad didn't let me go to the funeral. But my stepmother, who died from breast cancer, I watched that decline. So I'm familiar with watching the gradual physical decline.
Which is the hardest part, right?
Yeah, because you can't disassociate from that. But what I would love to ask your support with, Mitch, is navigating those waves of grief. They talk about the 5, or is there 7? I don't know. For me, there feels like there's 17
stages of grief.
Yeah, the stages of grief. And how do we help people honor that? Because I know, having been at so many funerals, we're in the sandwich generation. I've had friends die very young. And I say young because they're in their 50s and 60s. That's just way too young to die. And it's from either natural causes or unhealthy lifestyle patterns. But either way, we all deal with grief in a different kind of way. And my family and I are very different in the way that we deal with our grief. I've seen friends who have lost their father who have never grieved, suffering from some serious mental health issues. So I, from my own work and the work that I do with Tess and all the growth that I've enjoyed, I know the importance of processing grief. What's one of the ways that I can alleviate it? Because suffering's a choice.
Yeah.
Is that even a question?
It is. It's a big one.
Before the question, it's really important to just meet you where you're at and to acknowledge who you are as a person, what you're going through. Like, the part that I am feeling so honored to get to know about you, Lane, is you're so genuine. And I love your ability to go from deep feeling, like when you hug someone, similar to Tess, you feel like you're just wanting to squeeze that person's soul.
Yep.
All the way through to you're a businesswoman and can get shit done and drive hard. And, we were on a panel together the other week and you're being playful and making jokes in a room full of really serious, C-levels. And I'm like, hell yeah, you're my type of person. And I think that given the fact that you've built that inventory, you already have everything you need to navigate this. So what I'm going to say is already just playing back to you what you already know.
Trust it.
I think the hardest part around what you're going through isn't just that you're losing a dad. It is that you're in the middle of ambiguity.
Yeah.
It's the uncertainty every day that you get hit with. What's this day going to look like?
Yeah.
How's he going to show up today with dementia? That's something that kind of takes you and then brings you back all the time. And how do I reconcile this path when I don't know where to go? And, the neuroscience of ambiguity is very clear that certainty is like the brain's number one addiction.
Yes.
Because its job is not to be happy, the brain. It's to keep you safe. And it has a really strange definition of safe. It's what's knowable and familiar, right?
Yeah.
And we go toward what's certain over what's good for us all the time. That's why people will stay in relationships that are toxic, go to jobs that they hate, because it's deemed as this entity of, well, at least I can, quote unquote, mitigate the risk of what's going on. Not only do we love certainty, we avoid the negative at all costs 5 times more than we do the positive, which is why you can have one conversation with your friend and that doesn't go well, and that kind of blow out the perception of the quality of the relationship. So the brain's really working against us. And, in my talks, I sometimes say the opposite of sadness isn't happiness. It's mania.
The opposite of sadness is mania.
The opposite of like chronic sadness, like if you were to take sadness and string it all the way out like a rubber band, you'd hit depression.
Yeah.
Well, you'd hit catatonic. But, the opposite of that is mania, which is just as dangerous.
Like if you stretched happiness all the way out, you get manic.
Yeah.
So that shows you biologically, happiness is not how we're set up.
Yeah.
It's not the goal. We cannot tolerate joy in and of itself in its purest form because it will become destructive. So, the ancient wisdom has got it right for so many years. The middle is the path, right? So how do you experience life in a way that is meaningful, purpose-driven, connected, all things that involve dealing with hard emotions, but make it worth it because your soul is on fire?
Good question. How do you?
We can unpack that.
Latin,
We can unpack
Latin
that
shade,
next.
right?
So all that to say that not knowing when to let go of your father's hand is going to be hitting all your brain's markers around not feeling safe because it's so uncertain.
Yeah.
And you're in the ambiguity waves every day, to use a surfing analogy.
Well, it's true. One day he's up, next day he's down.
Yeah. So that's like 50% of the pain there.
Yeah.
The other layer for you, unique to you, Lane, is that you come from an adopted childhood, right?
Yeah.
So you already have a story and a narrative that has become a biological, almost instinct of rejection, sensitivity, and abandonment fear. Death is the ultimate abandonment. And what your little inner child is saying, please don't leave me. I can't. I don't know who I am on the other side of you leaving me with the ultimate goodbye.
That's true. That's what the child's saying. But I know the answer.
Tell me.
Well, I know who I am.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And that your father has been a shepherd to create the adult Lane that can take care of the inner child during this process.
Yeah.
And we're in this constant cycle right now of honoring that and grieving that at the same time. And sometimes the heart explodes with love to the point where it's agonizing and it feels like it's ripping out of you from a bad perspective, but it's actually a celebration of the gift that you've been given.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like an explosion of happiness and joy and light and love.
And it's so hard to tease apart what is trauma and what is ecstasy and blessing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of poetic for the way life goes always, right?
Yeah.
Is the bad and the good are kind of two sides of the same coin. The third thing I'd like to comment on is the aspect of pre-grieving. Is it good? Is it bad? And I think that like anything, it's about the dosage.
Right.
Because if you over pre-grieve, you almost become negligent in your time that you have left.
Totally.
Because you're rolling around in something that is perhaps, you know, what could be seen as wasting your time with someone. And so, you know, don't take it as a foregone conclusion, even if the certainty of them dying is very high, and soak in the aliveness, like their literal, you know, body and their heartbeat and, you know, the buzzy energy you get in the tingling of your hands that reminds you you're alive. Like when you hold his hand, like really be present with that and be like, right now, you're still with me.
Yeah.
And through that, you'll realize he'll always be with you because the same tingle is going to run straight back to you.
Yeah. And
that's in you always. And no one can take that. Whilst also knowing that it's healthy to not be delusional in the fact that I don't need to grieve. He could still live. He could, which is actually the more common scenario, is that people will bury their head in the sand, and denial, a huge part of grief, will start to become the preceding narrative. So it's straddling those two things. How do I meet this reality and soften the entry point to the next stage of our relationship together, which is one of transcendence instead of real world body? Yeah. So that that's not so acute and jagged and the opposite of delusion, whilst also not wishing our time away.
Yeah.
And my question back to you would be, do you feel like you're walking a good dosage of those two paths?
I do actually, because I've been honoring my emotions through it. I started pre-grieving a couple of years ago.
Because of the dementia?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you've already lost part of him already through that illness, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I kept him in his home for as long as possible.
Yeah.
But then it came time when he started getting lost in his own environment. It was time to find a facility. So taking Dad out of his home basically wiped half his memory. Like it was gone like that. So then following that decline, I started to honor and, instead of being in denial of, like, recognize, okay, he's gone now, as far as having that father-daughter conversation, which you can't have anymore. But to your point, I find other modes of connection, and just listening to him, hearing him breathe, and listening to the conversations go nowhere, but it's fun. And I just piece them together and just make conversations out of them. And I'll hear him go, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, sure.
Like, no one fucking does it.
At times he thinks that Lane is his lover, so he's like, hi.
At times I honestly think he thinks I'm an ex-wife.
Yeah.
He's always asking to kiss me. He always grabs my hand and kisses the back of my hand. Like, it's very cute.
Not to thieve, but to add on to that, my grandma passed away a couple of months ago, also from dementia, and it was beautiful in time. But I would come into the nursing home where she was, and I would walk in, and it's always been a tradition that the grandkids kiss the grandma on the mouth. I don't know why. It just is the normal way we show love.
Yeah.
So I'd walk in, I'd kiss her on the lips, and then she'd be like, who are you? And I'm like, well, for fucking starters, don't be kissing random boys that just walk past your room, dude. I'm like, I'm your relative. Stop hitting on me.
Yeah, so Dad does love a kiss, that's for sure. He was a ladies' man in his good old days.
Nice.
But in regards to, if we go back to the pre-grieving, I had a surf many years ago where I just tapped into how deeply sad I was, and I just remember sobbing uncontrollably in the water, and it felt so safe because that's my zone where I feel safe to process my hurts and process my pains. And there was only one other guy out, and he was about 50 meters down the beach, and the wind was howling on shore. So even if he heard me going, I don't think he would have. So it didn't really matter.
Wow.
So I've been through a couple of those moments, but that's just me honoring the sadness.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I come out of that, and I'm like, okay, that's a layer gone. And now I'm going to be back present with the connections and the joyful moments.
And I have these moments, like, again, as business partner and best friend, where I feel out of depth in handling whatever's coming, because I know that the waves are hard and fast for Lane. And because you're so in touch with your emotions, you can let them in so quickly. But holding space for someone in grief is really hard. I feel like it's easier when they're processing grief. It's really, on the flip side, harder when you see someone who is head in the sand. Mm-hmm. And I know personally a lot of people, and you know too, who have a partner or a loved one who are head in the sand. How do you recommend that person addresses or helps? Because you and I both know that towards the pain, it's tattooed on your body, is the best way. But what if someone doesn't want to go there?
One of the greatest misconceptions in psychology that I devote most of my life to now, and I know you guys subscribe to this philosophy, which thank God is actually just like a scientific law more than it is a nice, choice or approach to have, is that an emotion must be felt in order for it to be released from the nervous system. And the way that you eradicate pain and negative emotions and sensations from the nervous system is to regulate around them, feel them, heal them, and release them. So pain is actually a necessary part of getting better. Just like how when you go to the gym, you don't stand there and look at the weight. You lift it.
And expect it to lift itself.
Yeah. And then
sometimes
someone give you a massage and feed you a Mars bar and be like, hell yeah, I'm getting stronger. Like, I will often say to people in the gym, I'm like, do you think you're building muscle right now? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, you're not. You're tearing muscle. It's growing as a result of this tension. And why do we think the emotional body is any different? It needs tension to grow. So it's really making sure that you're feeling the right type of pain. And how you know you're feeling the right type of pain is if you're running towards something or away from something. Is this a coping mechanism that's actually a Band-Aid to a deeper wound? Or are you going into it in order to feel it, heal it, and move beyond it? And largely you'll know the answer to that instinctually, because it just feels different. One feels courageous and worthwhile. The other feels shameful and
heavy,
full of fear and heavy. So if we think about grief, it is the letting go of love. And the way that love accumulates is kind of like, depositing little coins into the piggy bank over the course of days, months, weeks, years, decades, and a lifetime. Or even like you wrap a layer around someone, around your hearts, around this connection. Just think that death is almost like if you've accumulated thousands of these little wrapping papers or these little coins that you're now having to unwind them. And if you don't try and unwind some of them, they'll rot in there once that person dies. So you have to take some out, and it's agonizing. It's like peeling skin layers off you. And you don't peel them all the way back. You peel them to a level where you feel like the wound can breathe and heal again. So when people are in denial, it's like they leave all these layers on, but there's no blood circulation getting to those layers anymore. So you have to strip some of this back. And if you bury your head in the sand, it's just going to catch up with you.
Yeah, the body creates physical illness or chronic illness to deal with the pain, because it would prefer to deal with physical pain than emotional pain.
Yeah, because it's easier to hide from yourself and other people. So the way that we process...
Or is it?
Or is it? Exactly. Because dysfunctional relationships, addiction disorders, low performance, the inability to experience joy isn't overly invisible, but we chalk it up to...
Yeah, or any kind of chronic illness or injury,
we chalk it up to everything else other than what it is.
So what does someone do? Because we can all relate to that person, and I'm sure you can feel that person in the room right now. What do you say to them to encourage them to lean in?
I think the reason why I went up a level before I go tactical is because until people know that sitting in the mud and sharing the pain with someone is the goal, then they'll never do the right tactic. This person's already in so much pain. What can I do to alleviate it? What you actually do to alleviate it is join them in it, not take them out of it. When you are trying to take them out of it, and in my book I talk about 5 mistakes, the magician is constantly trying to wave a magic wand and make that problem go away by saying, what can I do to help you plan the funeral? Can I bring you chicken this week because I know that you're probably going to be sitting at home? All that is a nice to have, but it's not the primary mechanism of intervention. Like, you're overlooking the core medicine that they need, which is care. And if you're putting the syringe in and it's full of something that they don't actually need right now, which is practical help, then you keep injecting someone with something that's actually not therapeutic. What they're looking for is love, because with enough love, we can overcome anything. And literally there is no greater disease that you would have to face in love and through love than grief. It is a love disorder. So it will be cured through that medicine of care. The second is the thief, jumping in with a story of your own and saying, same, me too, and constantly telling that person, when I lost my dad, when I lost my partner, when I lost my child. And then that becomes the predominant narrative, that you use that as the crutch to offer to someone instead of letting them perpetually have that experience. Life requires so much more patience than you anticipate, right? Probably like how if you were building a business, you always double or triple the budget and just expecting it'll go over. Life and good outcomes, like 10x the time you think a good outcome is going to take. When someone is grieving, you budget for like a month or two, budget for a year or two, so that when they're in the pain a year later, nothing's going wrong. That's just the process playing out. If you want to put on 0.5 kilogram of muscle, it takes a month. A month to put on muscle that you won't even see, but you'll go to the gym 7 days for. You need to stick at that stuff for years, almost blindly knowing that this is the process. So part of it is, not doing the mistake of constantly talking about yourself, having patience that they will get through this, hold the line.
Channel your inner Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Amen. He had like 5 good songs. I know that's controversial. That's definitely one of them.
Mitch, Lane and I had a moment last week just on that topic, and knowing about Real Conversations, and I've read your amazing book and have learned a lot within myself and have made all of those mistakes too.
Yeah.
When Lane and I had this moment last week, I said to her, and I just burst into tears, and it makes me emotional thinking about it now. I just said to her, I'm so sad for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that was a moment of honesty, because when you're trying to hold it together for someone, I feel like that blends in as well, because you're just, are you okay? Is everything okay? Like, I felt like I was being so inauthentic when I just really needed to cry with her and say, like, I'm sad for you. Yeah. I just felt like I just let go.
Yeah, because she'd been holding it together for me.
Yeah, and it was a really dangerous place to be.
Which is what a lot of partners, friends, support crew do. They burden themselves as well.
So holding it together, I think about that not as in like you're not being real about how you feel. Holding it together is not losing yourself in fear.
Yeah.
So
yes.
what's contagiously negative is if you go to a situation and show that fear in your eyes of like, I'm scared of you. I'm scared of what your nervous system is going to do off the back of this. That is going to dysregulate the hell out of the person on the receiving end.
And that's what I felt.
But
Yeah, you
solemn
felt that
grief
too.
is different. When like the way you said it to Lane just then, which is like, I'm fucking sad for you. And you meet the moment not with fear, but complete embodiment. That is holding it together. Holding it together is it spills out of you from a perspective, but holding it together where it spills through you is a different vibe. You know, one is so.
One is a balloon popping versus being slowly decompressed.
Yeah, and feeling with someone. I always say my mum saved my life through her eyes 1,000 times, not through her words. Like whenever I would come to her of a night spouting off complete irrational nonsense as a kid who had OCD and would have to touch a light switch 150 times in fear that my family would die that evening. She never looked at me with like this, what's the future for this kid going to be like? Is he going to be okay? Will he be employable? Is he possessed by a fucking demon?
Did she feel those things? Like, have you reflected on her?
There's part of that, but she knew her job was that if she looked at me with that, I would disintegrate in my nervous system. I would disorganize. So to keep me organized, she would obviously show sincere pain, but not in a way that was fragmenting, in a way that's like, oh, I can see you're hurting, and as your mum, this really hurts me. But in a way that I could come closer to her in, as opposed to leave my body and eject out of. Third. So 3 is the blind optimist who is constantly saying at least and looking on the bright side. And there's a huge place for positivity, just like how there's a place for practical solutions and using your own lived experience to relate, like I've done in this chat with you so far. It's the sequencing and the dosage. When someone is never letting you have that moment and just sit in it, then you never feel like you're allowed to be. And, you know, we have this saying in my friendship group, you're never allowed to tell someone to look on the bright side until you've earned the right by first sitting with them in the darkness. And just a basic psychological principle, no one's going to follow you to point B unless they felt like you're meeting them at point A. Just out of spite, you'll triple down on being like, no, I'm not following you because you're not willing to come here first. Don't be toxically optimistic, be validating and then positive. The 4th is the helicopter who loses their sense of self in the emotional contagion. I feel like we've already covered that, which is where possible, stay grounded, and where you want to show empathy and distribute that charge, embody it, don't eject it.
If you're a helicopter, you're just kind of spinning, right? And you're hovering above it.
So it's your work to not be that.
How do you know if you are that?
People will be scared to tell you things so that they don't worry you. If that is a common trait in your life, family members, friends, other people will be like, I don't want, she'll just worry or he'll just worry. That's your problem. You need to work on being able to hold someone's emotion with them without bringing gasoline to it. You bring water to it.
Yeah.
And even the way you exchanged it is still a water moment because it was embodied and authentic. It wasn't I don't know what to do. And I'm making it about Tess now. I don't know how to show up for you, Lane, but I want to know and I'm here.
Yeah.
The 5th is the opposite to the helicopter. It's the ostrich. There's not enough linkage into the moment, and emotions aren't my bag, and I don't know what to say or do, so I'm going to opt out, as opposed to find what to do. And if we don't know, say, I don't know, but I'd like to. And letting that person go on their own journey and not pressing them to be on a healing timeline that's your timeline. So all that to say, you might be like, well, what do we do then? If we're not allowed to do those.
Well, first asking our question and now answering.
Yeah. So those 5 things are less helpful, but all of them come from a good place. So, I do them almost on a daily basis, and I wrote a book that has those 5 characters.
Is it this book?
That book there, yeah.
5 Steps to Connect with Confidence.
Real Conversations.
It's a great book.
Dr. Donald Winnicott, who's a British pediatrician, showed you only need to get it right 30% of the time.
Okay, good.
So we're going for 31% here. The common theme around those 5 things is trying to take someone away from pain. And you're trying to have a transactional conversation with them where you're constantly trying to fix and make it go away. Grief is the ultimate test in not making it go away by trying to change the reality. You make it go away by sharing the reality. Because the reality is you can't change this one. You know, maybe divorce or financial issues or a mental illness, they can be managed in a certain way. Grief is like the thing to practice being a good supporter, because there is nothing you can do to change what's happened now. And you must learn to co-regulate through care and go on the journey with someone for longer than you think it's going to take, and know that it's all exactly where it's supposed to be and moving forward, even when it doesn't feel like it. Grief is the least linear coping process of any issue that you can come by.
Yeah, I feel like that there's 5 stages and they happen all the same time, but they don't. They circle, right? So you can feel
it's not linear. Yeah, it's like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So to that point, though, the understanding that we can't give what we don't have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were just saying in regards to being able to support for grief, you have to be able to first experience it yourself, or at least you have to have the capacity.
Able to have the capacity to understand where someone's at, even if you've not been there. Like, for example, I don't know what postnatal depression feels like, because I'm never going to carry a baby. I'm never going to have that hormonal change. I had a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago who was experiencing that, and she literally said out loud to me, "Oh my God, you so get it."
Right.
Because I understood her, not the situation. So the most therapeutic thing you can ask someone experiencing grief is the following question. If it's post, and I'm going to ask you slightly different for pre, and I want to see your response.
Okay.
What do you miss about that person the most?
Is this post or pre?
Post. So pre, to help someone pre-grieve, the question I would ask you is, what are you going to miss about your dad the most?
I asked you this the other day because I read it in the book, and I've heard you say it before.
In Mitch's book.
And I said, because you were in action mode and trying to find solutions and medications and things, and I said, maybe your dad just wants to be there with you. And I said, what's one thing you are going to miss? And you said, sitting at the beach with him, watching the waves.
Yeah. Haven't done that for a long time.
Yeah.
So
what part of his character are you going to miss the most?
His laugh.
Yeah. His humour.
I really miss his laugh.
Yeah. The play that would make the density undensified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was such a loud, proud laugh. So the last few years, that's been my goal.
Yeah.
Is to get him to laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And I've succeeded a couple of times.
As his partner.
Yeah.
I imagine when you say that, the visual that comes into my head is like this blasting this comet that's come in Earth and into lots of pieces, because no matter how dense you would feel in any given moment, his laugh would just cut straight to your soul and make everything be okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's the co-regulation weapon. It's the master, is just hearing your dad feel safe and playful.
And when he's laughing, you're laughing. Everything's okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's who you are. That's a character that...
Yeah, that's a trait that I've inherited.
Yeah.
So people right now, as they're listening or watching to the pod, might be like, Mitch, you're making Lane feel worse. She's crying more now. But what this is a healing moment.
Yeah.
This is the releasing of emotion. It's not the storing of pain.
Yeah, exactly.
By going toward it and feeling it, you're able to release it.
And sharing it.
And that's I feel like we need to hit on that.
This is everything. It's hard for the penny to drop.
This is the penny moment, because it's like we have these emotional reservoirs or these balloons that expand, and the releasing of the moment of the sadness, of the anger, whatever's coming up, is depressurizing or emptying out the well, right?
And a misconception is that, well, if I just don't think about it or don't deal with it, then it goes away. Nope, that's not how the nervous system works.
No.
It stores.
Yeah.
So your choice is feel it together now or feel it later alone with compounding interest. Your choice.
Yeah, we love feel it to heal it. So ways we feel it to heal it: breathing, crying,
Talking,
journal dumping,
connecting.
drawing,
grounding in nature.
Yeah, and I like to just quietly smash a pillow with a
just quietly
with a bat when I'm feeling like when I was feeling really
little pad.
We're going to finish with some quick fires and then a toolkit.
Yeah, but does that make sense, right? Because the pre-grieving where we just went just then is, and the process we just went through that came up as you remembered your dad's laugh.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people would back out of that moment thinking something's going wrong. That's the medical moment right there.
Right.
That is the loop. That is the catharsis.
What are you going to miss about him the most?
Correct. the more you can feel that in safe ways, in little bits, you're chunking off that grieving process. Like you're taking massive strides forward.
And the post one, what was the post question?
What do you miss
What do you miss about? Yeah, still his laugh.
I'm going to need some more, Mitch, because we've got a long journey of healing ahead, and I'm going to need more tips and tools. So we'll put some in the show notes, right?
Absolutely. So rapid fire me. Let's go.
Okay, rapid fire. What's the biggest myth about grieving you'd love to bust?
That it's about forgetting that person.
Oh,
cool.
If someone only had 60 seconds a day to check on their mental health, what should they do?
Ask themselves, what am I least willing to feel and why? And then feel that thing safely.
That's really nice. Why should leaders talk openly about grief in the workplace? What ripple effects have you seen?
Because humans can't partition themselves into tiny pieces and only bring in the favorable bits to work.
But they do.
Yeah, they try.
Yeah.
And leaders have a legal, ethical, and economic opportunity and obligation to manage people. It's literally on the tin. And part of that is holding a psychologically safe space for their emotional world.
Love it.
Wow.
If schools taught emotional honesty tomorrow, what change would we see in the next generation?
Reduction of suicide.
What excites you the most about the future of human connection in a world that feels the most disconnected?
We're starting to understand that talking from a quantity perspective is not the answer. It is connecting, which is a quality-based thing where you understand someone, not just exchange information with them. And we're never been more connected and lonely at the same time, which shows that a new way is needed.
Beautiful.
And sit here and talk to you all day.
Likewise.
It's like having a counsellor or therapist and friend confidant all in one.
Yeah,
a friend
and a spiritual
that's willing
mentor.
to go on the journey.
Yes.
And, as I said at the start, just to loop back, you already have everything you need to be able to navigate this and the people beside you to navigate it with.
I sure do.
You do.
And as a supporter, Tess, I can hand on heart say you have everything you need to be a good friend to Lane over the coming months and years. I would bet my career on it.
That's a big career.
That's
a big honour.
It's a safe bet, I reckon. At the end of every episode, we love to provide our listeners with a toolkit.
Yep.
So today's toolkit is brought to you by Micronutrition. They're a vitamin brand, and we want to wrap up everything that you've just shared with us into some applicable tools that our listeners can take away. What's the top 3 tools that you would suggest listeners and us and me specifically? This is specifically for me.
To managing grief.
Tools I tap into to manage grief.
Feel it to heal it.
Love it.
Go toward the pain.
Love it.
Stop fixing, start listening.
Oh, all right. Well, that was easy.
So we're going to put this toolkit in our show notes, and also Mitch's incredible book and your charity, Heart on My Sleeve, which Lane and I are both ambassadors for. Mitch is going to be our resident psychologist. So Ask Mitch is going to be a segment that we'll bring in from time to time. So please put the questions below underneath our show notes, or put them on our Facebook group, Awake Academy Dream Team. But from us to you, you have opened our hearts and our souls in ways that we will forever be grateful for. The service that you give to the world is incredible, and I know that you do it because you're helping yourself, and that's the best thing that we can do. So thank you for helping us as well.
Thank you for having me. It's an honour to know you guys.
Honoured to share this stage with you. Thank you.
Take it easy, everyone. This was a big episode.
Take it easy, lemon squeezies.
Take a deep breath.
See you. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. We'll be dropping a new one every Monday.
If you want to hear more about us, check us out on awakeacademy.com.au, or leave a comment or a review, because it really does help us. And in the show notes is everything you learnt today.
And if you want to work with us more, join us at the Awake Collective. The link is in the show notes. We'll see you next week. Toodles!